Villains. We love to hate them, and heroes need them, or else they can't go on big adventures. Hey, soulmates, what's going on? We're going to do something new and different today. We're going to rank each of the Marvel Legends figures from the supervillains Xemnu wave. Also, as an added bonus, and just for funsies, I decided to drag out the entire Bring On the Bad Guys wave by Toy Biz from back in 2005, and I have them all right up here on this shelf. There's 7 figures in Hasbro's Supervillains wave, and I'm going to be ranking them from S to F. And I'm going to be paying attention to things like how accurate it is to the source material, the quality of the sculpt, whether or not parts are being reused. If you support what I do, please click subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single video of mine when it comes out. And if you want to hang out with me and my soulmates on Twitch, I stream Monday through Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always with the Marvel Legends line, there's some good and there's some bad, and today we're going to find out how much of each there is in the Xemnu wave. Let's get started. The Red Skull is actually the first figure that I wanted from this wave as soon as I saw it, and as soon as I saw him announced, I was super excited for him. He's Captain America's arch enemy. He's one of the most important supervillains in the Marvel Universe, and I gotta say that his figure here delivers in a big way. He's got all the articulation you could hope for. He's got more articulation than you think he would when you first look at him. His ankles move very easily, his joints are very flexible, and he can look up and down, much to my surprise. I didn't think he'd be able to look up and down all that far, but he's got a surprising amount of mobility in that area. And the accessories they included with him are right on point. He comes with multiple pairs of hands, and one has a trigger finger so that you can hold his little machine gun in one hand, and then he's got another hand that can hold his Tesseract cube, and that's a really nice touch. I like that they included the Tesseract cube. He's even got the yellow Hydra emblem on his armband, and to top it all off, he comes with 2 heads. One is a classic Red Skull look, the other one is a more modern Red Skull head. And I like them both. Personally, I'm more attached to the classic look because I think it looks a little bit more natural on this figure than the modern look. But all in all, I gotta say that this figure is a perfect representation of the classic Red Skull, and I gotta rate this one a total S tier. Total S for me. They really knocked it out of the park on Red Skull. Dr. Doom, of course, is a classic villain, and I was very surprised here to see God Emperor Doom in the line, but I'm so happy that they put him in here because I love this representation that they did of him. They gave him a few extra hands. He looks fairly accurate to the comic in which he appeared. Some of the craftsmanship is a little subpar, like the hood looks a little jacked up when it's tucked under his chin the way it is, and also his cape isn't even attached to the hood, which doesn't look all that great in my opinion. This is more or less reusing a lot of a previous Dr. Doom release. It reminds me a lot of the Dr. Doom that was released in the Fantastic Four retro card line, which was a pretty good Dr. Doom figure, although is this really better than that one? No. It looks like the torso is new on him. It doesn't have any articulation, but it does look good. Doom also comes with some really nice accessories. Of course, he has a bunch of different pairs of hands, but he also has the spine and skull of Thanos, which you can hold like a trophy, and it looks really cool. He also has a gun in a holster at his right side that you can undo and put in his hand. The gun unfortunately looks pretty lame. It's really droopy. It looks just like plain plastic. It's a little disappointing. This is a good Dr. Doom figure and I like it a lot. I'm really happy to have this representation of God Emperor Doom, but there are a few cosmetic things that are holding it back for me, so I gotta give it a B. Arcade is one of those villains that people really don't think about a lot, but I really like him as a villain. I've liked him ever since I saw him in Spider-Man X-Men Arcade's Revenge on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. So having this figure finally of Arcade is really cool. Arcade here looks like he stepped right out of a 70s fashion catalog. He looks like he's wearing a leisure suit, which is appropriate because he did first appear during the 70s, and his platform shoes really aren't doing him any favors in the style department. He is kind of a short character, so having platform shoes on him helps him stand tall with the rest of the villains. Arcade comes with his cane and 2 heads. The long hair on the one head is really hard to move around. You can't get much articulation out of it, but the short haircut moves around a ton. It looks really good. It works perfectly. Arcade's arms and legs are not pinless, so it's really obvious they're reusing stuff for that, but his torso is a little harder to pin down. It does look out of proportion though. It seems as though they put some plastic over it to cover up anything that might be too conspicuous. So maybe they might be reusing something, but they covered it with a bunch of plastic to hide the fact. You can kind of sort of bend him at the torso, but also not really. It doesn't work all that well. Overall, Arcade is very accurate to his comic book appearance, but he doesn't come with many accessories, and also they're reusing quite a few parts for him, so I'm going to have to rate Arcade here a C. I was actually really excited for Lady Deathstrike because the former Toy Biz Lady Deathstrike in the original Bring on the Bad Guys line, yeah, Lady Deathstrike appears in both this line and Bring on the Bad Guys from 2005. The one that Toy Biz made was a terrible figure. Just did not look anything like her at all. They really dropped the ball on that. So when we finally got this Lady Deathstrike, I was really excited. And this Lady Deathstrike figure is far, far, heads and shoulders more accurate to Lady Deathstrike's appearance in the comics than that one from Toy Biz. They did an excellent job on her legs, her body, her torso, her head. Everything is more or less perfect except for her arms. That's where it gets me here. On her arms, they look a little too normal for me, and I know they don't really look normal at all on Lady Deathstrike. When I think of Lady Deathstrike, I think of an uncanny valley type appearance. I expect to see elongated arms, I expect to see monstrous claws, and that's what I wish were happening here. I wish there was a lot more of a cybernetic monstrosity on her arms than there is. And also I wish these claws were less of a nail job like you see on the figure, and more of the flesh-colored long talons that you see in a lot of the comics. This figure here really needs maybe a couple of changes of hands as well as an extra head. If there was ever a figure that really needed another head with a screaming face expression, this is the figure that would need it, because Lady Deathstrike in the comics is a little crazy, right? She has a thing for Wolverine. She is insulted that the adamantium bonding process was applied to Wolverine, and the bonding process in question was invented by her father. The connection is tenuous, but that's her logic, and I really wish we had that screaming face for Lady Deathstrike here. If that were the case and we had another set of maybe longer fingers and cybernetic arms, this would be perfect. There's no ab articulation on her, but also it's kind of hard to give her ab articulation because when you look at her, she really doesn't have much covering, her chest. If she had ab articulation, she might have a wardrobe malfunction, so maybe it's better that they leave the ab articulation out on this one. I really like this figure. I want to give it a higher grade, but because of the lack of uncanny valley on her arms, I'm going to have to rate this one a B. We're halfway through now, and here's the ratings so far. Dormammu was another one of those figures that I was really excited for in this line. When they announced Classic Dormammu, ooh, I got really enthusiastic. But then I picked up the figure, I opened it up, and I checked it out, and it became really obvious really fast that Dormammu here is using the exact same body as Red Skull, and it's not necessarily so much an issue that bodies get reused, it's how they get reused. And when they reuse the same body in the very same series, it's very tacky, and I did not like it when I saw it. So that's already a knock against the figure. And then I started posing Dormammu, and I tried using his legs and everything, and his boots would just fall off the figure. And you can tell they're reusing the body on Dormammu here, because if you pull down the plastic belt he's wearing, you can see the Red Skull's fabric belt that's painted purple instead of black. If the craftsmanship on the boots wasn't bad enough, once you get up to Dormammu's head, there's a little black piece that's only held in place by a little rubber band that's going to disintegrate in about 20 years, give or take. And after that, the only thing holding this black piece in place on his head is some piece of plastic on the shoulder harness that he's wearing on his costume there. Really terrible stuff. And if those shortcuts weren't enough, the hands they include with Dormammu all belong to the Red Skull. He has a trigger finger. What's he going to do with a trigger finger? Dormammu doesn't use guns. Yeah, I really wanted to like Dormammu, but this figure is pretty bad, honestly. I'm going to have to rate this one a D, and I really don't want to do that, but I have to. It's a D. Total D. The Hood is one of those figures that took me by surprise. I really didn't expect to see him, and I really didn't know much about him. And once I finally got his figure, I can't say that I'm all that inclined to learn all that more about him because the figure is not that awesome. The cape that he wears does not stay on him all that well. If you try to stand him up, the cape kind of comes off. I found it incredibly difficult to pose the Hood in any kind of position that didn't have his cape being lifted up off his shoulders. When you look at his arms and his legs, it's pretty obvious they're being reused because they have pins. You can always tell when things are being reused on a Hasbro Marvel Legend these days because the reused stuff has pins when they're switching to pinless slowly over time. He's got a decent amount of articulation, but that head sculpt on him looks ridiculous. He wears a constant screaming expression, and I'm not sure what to take away from that. Is he a character who screams all the time? Is that why that was the only head included with him? He has a couple of guns with magic bullets that attach to them that look pretty neat once you can get them arranged in the right way. But it's kind of hard to get them so they don't look all twisted and stuff when you put them on, but still, it's nice to have them. I can't say I like the Hood all that much. This figure was hard to work with. I didn't have a lot of fun with it. The sculpt is weird. I gotta give this one a D. Total D tier. D tier. The A.I.M Scientist Supreme was a real surprise for me, but it's a very pleasant surprise. I really like this figure. It has a surprising amount of articulation on it, and it's very easy to work with. And the look of it is really nice. The plastic that they use to create this metallic effect is something that I really like. I like it better than the old metallic paint that they used to use on figures because obviously a metallic looking plastic is going to last a lot longer than metallic paint. I have a lot of figures where the metallic paint is just flaking off over the course of years without any play whatsoever just because metallic paint doesn't age all that well, to be honest. But yeah, the sculpt on A.I.M Scientist Supreme here is really nice. I don't have a lot to complain about with the Scientist Supreme. Everything is pretty good on him and his accessory looks really nice. The only thing I wish is that maybe he had a couple of extra hands and then he'd be perfect. Based on comic book accuracy, the A.I.M Scientist Supreme isn't 100% accurate, but he's mostly accurate. So based on that, along with a couple of extra hands that I wish he had, I'm going to have to give this figure a B tier. I'm going to rate it a B tier. Now I know I said there were 7 figures, but there's actually 8 because we have the Build-A-Figure Xemnu. This is a Hulk/She-Hulk villain, and it's a very good representation of the character. I really like this figure. This is such a good Marvel Legend. Oh boy. Yeah, the articulation on him is a little limited in the elbows, but he's also got a lot of fur and he's a big boy, so it's kind of hard to get lots and lots of articulation in that area, but he does have double jointed knees, and that is very cool. And he actually moves around really well. Xemnu has a swivel at the waist, but he has a hard time moving back and forth. Also, his head doesn't move around all that well, so that's not the best thing. Maybe if the fur were a little bit more pliable near the head, so we could turn his head just a little bit, that'd be pretty nice. Otherwise, I can't complain too much about this figure. I really like Xemnu here. I like how obscure he is, and the painstaking accuracy they took to get him just right, for the most part. And I'm going to give this figure an A. I think this is a total A tier figure. This is really good. Held back by a couple of things that I wish were not the case, but A tier is still really good, and I think he deserves it. God, he's so big, I don't know where to put him. We'll just slip him right. Okay, you'll just knock over the Scientist Supreme. That's cool. Well, Soulmates, that's all 8 figures. Who is your favorite? Did you buy any of these figures? Did you read about these characters in comics? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you enjoy this, Soulmates, and if you did enjoy it, I'll come at you soon with some more ranking videos. If you support what I do, please click subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single video of mine when it comes out. And if you want to hang out with me and my Soulmates on Twitch, I stream live Monday through Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to play some superhero games, and I would love to see you. I'll be back soon with another ranking superhero toys video, and until then, with love from me to you, bye-bye.